Used to be dead down. House like jet now. We don't play radio. Don't master flicks now.
What's good, y'all? It's your boy CrayG, and welcome back to another Need for Speed Heat video. Today's video, I will be going over the top 5 tuner cars that are good on both spectrums when it comes to drifting and racing in Need for Speed Heat, man. Firstly, I just want to say I hope you guys had a wonderful holidays, man. New Year's is around the corner. 2020 is around the corner, man. Just want to say all blessings to everybody for 2020, man. Hope you guys can achieve your goals. I know I'm going for that 100K, man. I'm going for that 100K subscribers in 2020, man. But I will not be able to do that without you guys' support, man. So make sure you drop a like and hit that sub button if you haven't already. And if you've been enjoying the content on the channel, let's get into the video. All right, guys. So the first car I want to get into is the Hakosuka, man. And just to let you guys know, these cars aren't in any order from best to worst or from worst to best. It's just 5 that I think are really good tuner cars in this game when it comes to drifting and when it comes to racing. Now, as far as racing, the Hakosuka is a little better. And for those of you who don't know the term Hakosuka, this is the Nissan Skyline 2000 GTR. This car is definitely one of the faster tuners in the game. With the right setup and the right driver, it can do pretty well. I'm gonna show you guys how I have mine set up just to give you an overlook on the stats and what it would look like. So for performance, I have a 3.8 liter flat 6. Now, with most of these tuners, you will have to engine swap to bring out their full potential, and a majority of them you have to put Porsche engines into. I don't really like it that way, but it's the way the game is for the moment, so we kind of just have to deal with it at the end of the day. Yes, I have all Ultimate Plus everything, and I have a turbocharger here, 5 3-pound tanks of nitrous, and of course our normal track racing setup. But what really matters is the performance. So we have 1,069 horsepower. Our 0 to 60 is 2.23 seconds. We have 800 pound-foot of max torque and a top speed of 234 miles per hour. I want you guys to write down these numbers so you can compare it at the end, right? And I want you to comment down below what you guys think the best tuner out of all these 5 I'm gonna show you is. So like I said, we have 1,069 horsepower. Our 0 to 60 is 2.23 seconds, which doesn't always make the biggest difference depending on the driver as well. Our max torque is 802 pound-feet, and we have a 234 miles per hour top speed. All right, so that is that car, and we're gonna get into the next one. The next car on my list is the Mazda RX-7. Of course, the Mazda RX-7 FD. There's obviously controversy around this being the best drift car in the game. I feel like there still needs to be more testing done, but this is one of the better drift cars. But I'm not gonna say it's the best at just this moment. But in payback, yeah, definitely this was rivaling the Huracan pretty well. But I don't know in Need for Speed Heat. I'm not sure. It's also a really good race car when you swap the right engine into it. Now, I wish the 13B engines were more prominent, you know, because you have a regular 13B and then you have a forged 13B, which I feel they should have been the better choices. But you know, like I said, most of these cars need either Porsche engines or different engines to swap into them to bring out their full potential. If we go to the performance on my RX-7, you can see I have a forged 13B in here. Now, because this is my drift car, this is my drift build right here for the RX-7. So I put a forged 13B in here because I'm not really too worried about racing with this. I don't need the best stats and the fastest performance for this car. I can keep the rotary in there and just hear that shit scream while I'm sliding through the mountains. You know what I mean? And I like that. But if I were to spec into race, which I do have a race spec RX-7 that I'm gonna pull up here, this is how it would look. But let me show you the stats for this forged 13B. So I have 951 horsepower. My 0 to 60 is 3.83 seconds, which is bad because, well, it's not bad, but you know, I have drift parts on. This is my drift spec for the RX-7, right? And then I have 760 pound-foot of max torque and a top speed of 232 miles per hour. That is with the drift spec RX-7. Now, if I swap this out, because like I said, I do have another RX-7 which has been spec'd into race. All right, here we go. This is my race RX-7, and as you can see, I'm using the 3.8 liter V6, which is the GTR R35 engine that I had to swap into here. And I'm making 1,008 horsepower. My 0 to 60 is 2.3 seconds. My max torque is 780 pound-foot, and my top speed is 234 miles per hour. Now you can see this engine moves a lot more than the 13B, especially with the way I have it set up. It makes more horsepower. It has a way better 0 to 60. I believe it makes more torque as well. So as you guys can see, some of these engines need to be swapped out to make for better horsepower and just better performance overall when it comes to the car that you're using. But this is the RX-7 right here, man. Definitely a dope car to use if you want to race or drift with it. It'll satisfy you on either side. Now to the next car. For number 3, guys, we're gonna go with the Nissan 180SX, man. This is also my drift spec version of the 180SX. I do have a race spec that I'm gonna show you as well. But man, this car really surprised me when I first started racing with it. It's fast as hell. It's one of the faster cars. Like I said, if you know how to drive these cars correctly, you will win races with no issue. It's just about having the right driver, being able to get the live tuning correctly so your handling is on point, and you will win a majority of those races out there, man. I'm telling you, this 180SX is no joke. It's good for drifting as well and for racing. You guys know, man, I've used my SIL 80 for a long time as far as racing. You guys have seen me win many races and you guys have seen me lose races. But at the end of the day, you get a feel for how fast this car actually is when you tune it correctly. So selecting this car, I have the forged SR20 in here, right? I have the forged SR20, which is cool. This is my drift spec version. So that's why I put the forged SR20. Most of the engines in the game come with forged versions, but a lot of them don't. So I have the forged SR20 here. Now, I also have a race spec version of the 180SX, which is also a SIL 80. So if I pull that out, this is my race spec for the 180SX right here, right? And if we go to my performance, you guys can see I swapped the GTR R35 engine in here, which is the VR38. I swapped that engine into here and it performs beautifully. I have 939 horsepower. 0 to 60 is 2.4 seconds. My max torque is 845 pound-foot and top speed of 234 miles per hour. Most of these tuners you're gonna see around from 900 to 1,000 horsepower, and for the torque it's gonna be from 7 to 900 pound-foot. That's what you're gonna see, and that's a good area that you can be when it comes to racing. This car can contend. I do have a little bit of troubles making it handle better, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. But this is a good choice, and this is one of the starter cars. So this would be a good starter car for you. If you're just getting the game, I know Christmas just passed. A lot of you guys just got Need for Speed Heat. This is one of the starter cars that you were able to start off with. So if I had a choice from a car you can take all the way to end game, this would be the one. I actually beat the game with the 180SX, and there's videos on my channel to prove it. So all around, this is a good car, and it makes it even better that this is available at the beginning of the game because you know what you can go for and you know where you're going to end up as far as performance if you continue to use this car. Now we're going on to the next one. Number four on my list is the Nissan 240Z, man, the Fair Lady 240Z. This car is really fun to drive actually, but this is another one of those cars where you actually had to swap a Porsche engine into it to push out its max performance, which is, it's sad. It saddens me, you know, it honestly saddens me that the Porsche engines are above all when it comes to certain cars in the game. But this is my race spec. I do have a drift spec as well, and it's good for drifting as well. If you drop down to that 4-speed, this is a monster when it comes to drifting as well. Now going into the performance for this car, as you guys can see my stats, I have a 3.6 liter flat six, which is obviously a Porsche engine, 936 horsepower. My 0 to 60 is 2.7 seconds. Max torque is 742 pound-feet, and my top speed is 234 miles per hour. So like I said, this kind of fits in that range with all the other tuner cars that are really good and really fun to drive in this game. Like I said, on both sides of the spectrum, race and drift, this is another contender right here. And a good majority of these cars that I've already mentioned have crazy amounts of customization you can do to them. Right now I have the Pandem kit on here. It looks pretty dope. You know, I like the wide flared fenders and stuff like that because this is a classic car. So there's a lot that you can do to this. There's super amounts of customization for this car specifically, but you guys are gonna have to try that out for yourselves. Now this car was also dropped in 71, rival to the Hakosuka, but the thing is, it's crazy how both of these cars were dropped in 1971 and they're both like equally amazing. You know what I mean? It's just crazy, you know what I'm saying? But that is pretty much it for the 240Z, man. I really want you guys to try all of these cars out that I'm naming, but we're gonna move on to our fifth and final car. For number 5, man, we have the Mazda Miata, which is honestly the fastest out of all the cars that I named because it's so small. It weighs little to nothing. when you swap either, I don't have a Porsche engine in here because I think I found an engine that does a little bit better, just a little bit better on certain stats than a flat six that would normally get swapped into this car. Because you know, people use the Miata with the flat sixes, it's super fast, but I actually swapped a different engine in here, which I think is a little better. This is my just spec Miata right here. As you can see, I do have a race spec as well that I'm gonna pull out and show you guys the stats, but let's show you the drift one first. As you guys notice, for a lot of these cars, I have two versions. I bought two different versions. I have a race spec and I have a drift spec, just because I don't feel like swapping out parts on one car to make a drift and then re-swapping those parts to go back to a race spec. I hate doing that. I'd rather just have two cars, one for race and one for drift, and I can switch them the way I like. Now for my drift spec, I do have a 3-liter flat six in here. I feel it performed a little bit better as far as drifting, and it gave me a completely different RPM range, which helped a lot. So I have a 3-liter flat six here. I have 779 horsepower. My 0 to 60 is 3 seconds flat. Max torque is 667 pound-feet, and my top speed is 232 miles per hour. Now, like I said, I hope you guys have been writing this down. If not, go back to all the different cars, write down the performance, and compare them all to give you the best idea of what car you want to choose. Now, like I said, this is my drift spec, so let me swap out to the race spec and show you guys the stats. All right, guys, this is the race spec of my Miata, and it was really hard to make this list. You know what I mean? This is the 5th car on the list, and it was difficult because there's some good tuners in the game. As you guys can see over there, I got my S15 and my 350Z, which didn't quite make the cut. But they're also good tuner cars. But if we're going with just the top 5, they didn't really make the cut. Neither did the Evo. A lot of people are going to be surprised, but all of these cars are better than the Evo, which is crazy because the Evo is so damn fast, but it's just the handling that lets it down. The handling really lets the Evo down. If somebody can get that Evo to handle perfectly through the turns, not losing any speed, oh yeah, it's gonna knock off a bunch of these cars off the list. But going into this race Miata, man, so I have a 3-liter straight six, which I believe is the M4 engine. When I first got the game and I saw they had a 3-liter straight six, instantly in my head I was like, 2JZ. But then I had to realize Toyota is not in the game, so why would they include the 2JZ in the game? It wouldn't make any sense, you know what I mean? But going into the performance for this, I have 778 horsepower. My 0 to 60 is 2.1 seconds. My max torque is 705 pound-feet, and top speed is 233 miles per hour. Now, the reason I say that this Miata is the fastest out of all the tuners that I mentioned in this video is because it weighs the least. This car weighs significantly less than all the other cars that I have mentioned today, and that has a huge impact on the performance. Now, the game doesn't have a stat anywhere to show you how much the cars weigh. In actuality, you kind of have to figure that out for yourself by looking at the car, maybe looking it up on Google or something like that, and seeing how much it weighs, and then comparing it to the weight of all the other cars. But of course, if you have an engine with 1,000 horsepower in a car that weighs 2,000 pounds, and then you have the same exact engine built exactly the same 1,000 horsepower in a car that weighs 3,000 pounds. Of course, the car that weighs 2,000 pounds is going to get off the line quicker, is going to get up to speed quicker because it weighs less. It's taking a lot less power to get it up to speed because there's not much weight to be pushed. You know what I mean? So that is pretty much why the smaller cars tend to do a lot better when it comes to performance and swapping the right engines into them. You guys choose for yourself what tuner you want to go with, whether it be the Miata, the Hako, the RX-7, the 180SX, or the 240Z, man. You guys let me know your thoughts down in the comments below and what you think I may have missed in this video. If you think I got something wrong, let me know, man. I always take criticism well, as long as you're not disrespectful about it. But I appreciate you guys for watching the video, man. Make sure you drop a like and hit that sub button. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Deuces.